This is a journey that is my life. Why should I share? I don't know why. But I do know that I've been extremely blessed from my very conception almost 62 years ago. I've had some serious crooks and turns along the way that seem to be interesting to some. So here goes. Sometime in November or December of 1951, a young 16-year-old, shy, insecure, unmarried girl became pregnant in South Florida. She adored her daddy, but as he had been hurt so terribly by an unfaithful wife who had left him with 3 children years before, he found it impossible to understand and required that she leave his home. She left to live with a cousin and eventually to Tampa, Florida, where she would reside at the Tampa Salvation Army Home for Unwed Mothers until my arrival in late August 1952. I'm told she stayed with me for about a month until she signed the relinquishment papers and went back to South Florida. About 2 years earlier, a young mother with a 5-year-old son in Tampa had gone to the children's home and asked, "Do you have a baby girl who needs me?" Her name went on a waiting list, and she waited, and she waited. Sometime in February 1953, they called her and announced they had a baby girl for her to consider. They hadn't told her about me yet because it seemed they weren't sure I was going to survive. Today they call it failure to thrive, and they understand that a baby needs love as much as it needs air and nourishment. My mother described the scene to me this way. They brought you out in a diaper and just a little top. Your fair little legs were blotchy because you were cold. She said, I wrapped a little hand around my daddy's finger and he said, "We're going to take her." The attendant said they would have to come back after the paperwork was complete, and my mother said, "Oh no, she's ours. We'll take her home now." And so they did. Although I always felt loved, I grew as a very timid, sensitive, emotional child. I always felt an earnest drive to be pleasing. I so wanted to be that daughter that made other parents jealous. I thought my mother hung the moon, and I believe she thought she could have if she wanted to. She was amazing, ambitious, and the hardest working person I think I've ever known. I wanted to be just like her. When I was 3, my mother gave birth to another brother, Jeffy, and when I was 10, they adopted another daughter from the children's home, Denise. When I was 11, we moved from our home in Tampa, from the place where they had brought me home. It was a home my parents had literally built with their own hands. We moved into a much larger home in Dover on 11 acres. By this time, I not only had a 16-year-old brother, but also an 8-year-old brother and a 1-year-old sister, and a remarkable thing was happening to our family structure. My older brother Danny had developed a friendship with a boy a year older while they were attending the junior high school. Donald was born into a large family of 11 brothers and sisters to parents who were dysfunctional and alcoholic. He was in and out of foster care during those years, and as time passed, he came to spend more and more time with us. When he was 16, my parents made a decision to formally adopt him. Although the thought of leaving his siblings was unsettling for him, he was pleased and excited about the opportunity. So he became my oldest brother and completed our family. The Fox brothers made quite a presence at Turkey Creek High School after we moved. They played football and were popular, and most people thought they were simply handsome twins. It was a wonderful time. We had horses and cows and lots of room and resources to be healthy kids. Mother always had a garden and always another real estate project. At one in the early 60s, she had bought a lot on a canal in Ocala, Florida, where we would go on the weekends. My daddy loved to fish. Then there was the lot in Haines City on Lake Marion, where she had an old house moved all the way from Tampa when they were sold to make way for an expressway. Then when I was 15, an old rundown fishing resort around the corner on the same lake Each place had its turn to be beautifully remodeled and landscaped. I often wonder how they accomplished so very much in their lives that would ultimately end too soon, when they only had the same 24 hours in each day that everyone else had. They weren't wealthy, but they were resourceful and worked hard. Daddy was steady and dependable, and Mother took wheeling and dealing to a whole new level.